Here are my predictions for UFC Fight Night in the Apex. I'm only doing the main card for this video, starting with Danny Silva against Kevin Vallejos. Both of them have had one fight in the UFC. Kevin Vallejos is coming from a KO win in the first round. He's a heavy boxer, very similar to Ilia Topuria the way he fights. He's only 23 years old and he's facing Danny Silva, who also had a win in the UFC by decision. He didn't really convince me that much. Therefore, I'm going with Kevin Vallejos to get it done by KO in the first round. Going next with Neil Magny against Dos Santos. Two experienced guys. They're both past their primes. They're both also in very similar positions. Neil Magny is coming off two bad losses by KO, but he faced Carlos Prates and Marlon Moraes, two killers. And Dos Santos also is coming off a loss, a TKO loss. It's a very tough pick because both of them are in very similar situations. However, I'm going to lean towards Dos Santos in this one. Even though he got KO in his last fight, he's been looking a bit better than Neil Magny. And if you guys know, he also KO'd Sean Strickland back in the day, so I'm going to go Dos Santos TKO in the second round. Going next for Carol Rosa against Nora Cornell. It's also a very tough fight to pick. However, Nora Cornell has been looking pretty good. She's been winning a few fights. She got her last fight won by decision, and Carol Rosa just lost her last fight, and she hasn't been looking good lately. I don't think this fight is gonna end in a finish. I think it's gonna be a decision win for Nora Cornell. Going next for what it could be the fight of the night, Esteban Ribovic against Elvis Brenner. Esteban Ribovic had a fight of the night against Zell Huber. He just lost his last fight. However, before his last fight, he was looking amazing. He was, throwing hands. He knocked out Terrence McKinney. He had a fight of the night against Zell Huber. I think he's gonna get it done by TKO in the third round. Elvis Brenner, he's a tough opponent. He's from the same gym as Charles Oliveira, but he lost his last two fights. Even though he's a tough guy, he always goes out there and throws hands, and it's pretty hard to get him out of there. I think that when it goes to throwing hands against Ribovic, he's just gonna get caught. He's gonna get caught, and Ribovic is gonna win by TKO in the third round. Co-main event, we got Mateusz Rebecki against Chris Duncan. Rebecki also had a war in his last fight against Arbolai. It was pretty much an underdog win against Arbolai, which really impressed me. And Chris Duncan, he's been looking good. He's been winning his last few fights. He's a grappler. He's gonna try to go out there and implement the takedowns and hopefully get a submission win. However, I think Mateusz Rebecki is a bit more overwhelming when he fights. He likes to throw hands and also mix it up with the grappling. I think that's going to overwhelm Chris Duncan. Therefore, I'm going with Rebecki to get this one done by decision. And now with the main event, which is Tatsuro Tara against Park Hyun-sung. It's a short notice fight for Park Hyun-sung. He's a young guy. He's undefeated. And he's only had, I believe, 2 fights in the UFC, or only one. He joined the UFC in 2025. Tatsuro Tara has been in the UFC longer than Park Hyun-sung. He's also fought better opponents. And when you add all of those things, you have to give it to Tatsuro Tara to win this fight. I see him winning the fight by submission in the second round. Park Hyun-sung is a striker. He hasn't really faced a grappler like Tatsuro Tara, and I think that's going to favor Tatsuro Tara in this fight. Let me know what you guys think. I might make a video about the prelims, my predictions for the prelims. But yep,